We're on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, but tonight, uh, this is because this is Kroll's birthday a month. This is a movie that he has chosen, um, but he has chosen Jake to host our lovely discussion here tonight. So, Jake, take it away. Tell us what film uh, Kroll has subjected us uh, tonight.
All right. And by the way, happy birthday, Kroll. We are kicking off this month with welcome. One that's actually a personal favorite of mine. This is the film by Michel Gondry, written by Charlie Kaufman with assistance from Gondry and Pierre Bismuth, uh, called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's a film from 2004. And the very brief IMDb synopsis says when their relationship turns sour, a couple undergoes a medical procedure to have each other erased from their memories. I guess we'll just go ahead and start. We might as well start with you, Kroll. Why don't you give us your take on this? I'm assuming this is not a first viewing for you, but what were your first impressions?
No, it's not first. That's actually my second, but I really enjoyed it so much, and I thought it was a very unique idea, and it's kind of a unromantic movie and a romantic movie at the same time. You know, uh, it just shows all the different aspects of romance. I choose to believe that in the end that maybe they figured out how to work things out. I mean, they erased each other, and even without the recordings being sent back to them, they found each other again. So that kind of screams, there's something to it to them. At least in the movie, it's like they're meant for each other. Um, but yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, it's a little odd seeing Jim Carrey not a comedian, but he did a great job. He did really well in the dramatic role. He was just kind of droll. He was just Joel the droll. He just plain guy, no frills and all. But still, it was a likable character, especially when he opened up a little more, and when he realized he was gonna lose her after he basically did something impulsive as well, erased her because she had raised him, and he's not known for doing impulsive things, and now he's like, oh crap, I'm doing this, and I don't want to do it no more. So, I just love the story. I love how they figure out that they need to hide, and I mean, obviously, it's all him. So I mean, because she's not really there, it's his mind of memory of her. But they figure out the hide heater in different spots, and when he's a little kid, and I think it's just really well done, and something completely unique. A unique way to do a romance movie, romance drama. So that's my take on it.
All right, very good. Looking at the screen as I see it, I'm going to move to the right here. Dave, is this your first go around with this movie, and what was your take on it?
This is my first time with this movie. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It felt a little bit because I think Truman Show was out around the same time, and I
This
feel
was
like
six
they were
years later.
okay. This was 6 years later. Okay,
Yep.
well then I kind of think a little bit like the Truman Show, a little bit in retrospect when Jim Carrey is like speaking to like himself and the doctor and stuff like that. So um, uh, I don't know. The film is very slow. I'm not a fan of chicks with colored hair. Um, so that was a first uh negative on my point. I mean, maybe other people have that as like a romantic thing for their significant other. I do not. Um, uh, uh, and I like um, I like her in Titanic. Um, to be honest, as an actress, Kate Winslet, and especially in Heavenly Creatures.
Yeah,
Um,
good one.
which was a phenomenal movie. But this movie, I don't know. It was kind of all over the place. I got the romance. I got everything else. I thought that Jim Carrey it did an okay job on this. I know that a lot of people at the time, because comedy was his norm, seeing him in a dramatic role was a phenomenal thing, and I think it was. I think it was good for his career, and things like that. That being said, um, I'm not sure whether I liked the film in the end. I'm still on the fence on that, but I do like the concept that it brings to us. So that's where I am on this film. Kind of neutral to it at this moment, so maybe I could see it again, and maybe have a different response. Right now, it's kind of like, okay, what the fuck did I just see? So.
Well, if there's one thing Charlie Kaufman and Michel Gondry are known for, it's high concept stuff. That's kind of their MO for both of them. Although this, to the best of my knowledge, is the only collaboration they've done to date. But anyway, Tammy, is this your first go with this one, and what are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, it was my first time. I guess I found the concept interesting. And I think, it was a good film for Carrey to break out instead of doing the comedy. Um, I felt the film itself was like a little slow for me. But I'm kind of with David. I'm not really sure if I really liked it or not. Or, you know, would I watch it again? Yeah, I'd probably watch it again. It's just, I don't know, it just wasn't, I guess, maybe totally my thing, but it was okay. It was just it didn't keep my interest as much as I thought it was going to. But other than that, I thought it was all right. I thought the concept was unique. And I'm sure all of us have probably had people that we'd love to forget in our lives, but so
Right.
okay.
Cool. All right. Brandon, is this your first time seeing this, and what are your general thoughts on
Well, you probably know the answer to that question.
it?
But I believe you were the one who introduced me to the film. I mean, I'm sure I heard about it. I would have heard
Maybe.
about it either way. But I remember you were really hyped about it when it came out. I remember that much. And and of course, a lot of people were like, this is spectacular, best film ever, this sort of thing. And so I went in there with over high expectations. And I'm going to say this before I get too far into the opinion. The film is very well acted. It's well written, amazing production design, spectacular music. But with all that together, I still didn't like the film. There's a lot to this that has an interest, but I really just did not like this. The romantic story was very toxic. The ending kind of spoke to that the writers probably knew it was toxic, and but at the same time, it's I've seen this. I think this is the 5th time I've seen the film, and I feel like I've gone from just like I'm kind of bored of it to I'm kind of angry with it, which is how I felt this time around. But I'll hit more on that later. But again, everything done very well, just not for me.
All right. And you, Mo, is this your first time seeing this? And what was your first impression?
Oh no, I've seen this many times since pretty much right when it came out. I saw it not in theaters, but I did get it on home video as soon as it was available, and wasn't disappointed. I think I still have my VHS copy of it, actually. I guess it came out for me at the best or the worst time, depending on how you want to look at it. So I just had my first like real heartbreak, like my childhood girlfriend and me had split ways, so I was like forlorn and upset and depressed, and so this was a perfect movie to kind of process that. And while I do love it, I would agree with everything that Brandon said. He made some good observations there about it being kind of a toxic relationship. And I don't know, I still like it. At the time, it, especially going through something like that, it posed some interesting thought exercises that I guess it was good to go through that at the time. I can relate to the, even though it turned out badly, maybe you wouldn't want to lose all those memories kind of a thing. But now as I'm older, I realize that life kind of just sorts that stuff out for you in the long run. You don't really need to have someone erased from your brain. You just kind of erase them, gradually over time. So can't really relate to Joel these days at all, but that's because I have the gift of hindsight with those types of situations, I suppose. So good movie, definitely well put together. And yeah, I would agree with all the compliments that have been laid out so far.
Well, all right then. And I've got to admit as well, and I'll go ahead and lead off by saying, yes, the concept is pretty fascinating, and I'll admit it's hard to really think of, would it really be a good idea to erase a person? In most cases, there might be some where it would,
right?
But I could see, like they mentioned in the movie, I think it's Mary, Kristen Dunst's character, I think says something about erasing phobias, and I'm like, that might actually be like something targeted about something is hanging you up and keeping you from getting ahead. And it could be as simple as a small phobia or something like that. Or I don't know, maybe if the procedure could somehow be used to target the cells behind addiction and make you literally forget your addiction. I mean, that'd be kind of cool, but I don't know.
It's actually funny you say that, because the technology that they're using, it wasn't all fantasy. There's a lot of basis on stuff that they're working on in real life. The idea being going back for trauma victims and eliminating the trauma from one's memory to basically eliminate PTSD, which is a promising science. We may very well see something like this, probably not used like it is here.
Right. And this movie does turn into a cautionary tale on that very note. But anyway, so yeah, this was one I was hyped on when it came out. I mean, it came out in 2004. I had graduated college, but I was still hanging out at campus. I was hanging out with a bunch of my international friends. I was taking a couple of side classes and just watching all kinds of movies. And I actually, first of all, I remember the trailer for this. They had a trailer with ELO's Mr. Blue Sky as the theme. And it's one of my favorite trailers I've ever seen. And I have rarely seen a trailer and gone, I gotta see that movie the way I did with this one. And the cast too, you got Jim Carrey, who Truman Show, but he also at this point had done Man on the Moon and The Majestic, which The Majestic was a sorely underrated movie. So he was proving his dramatic chops. I was hugely in love with Kate Winslet at the time. Big fan Kirsten Dunst, Elijah Wood, Tom Wilkinson. I was getting to know Mark Ruffalo a little bit. So I was stoked on this cast. Charlie Kaufman, I was huge fan of Being John Malkovich and a big fan of adaptation. I couldn't wait to see his next project, whatever. Less familiar with the work of Michel Gondry, so couldn't really comment on that. But there was this whole, well, will this be as good as the movies he did with Spike Jonze kind of thing. And so, yeah, I was absolutely hyped on this movie. And I went with a group of friends. I think I saw it, if I recall correctly, with 3 of my international friends, which it may be appropriate to Brandon's opinion. He knows who one of them was. And our difference of opinion on the film carries over to that individual. But it was very... I thoroughly enjoyed it in the theaters. I have probably myself seen it about 5 times over the years, maybe more, but I don't repeat view as much as I would like. And I feel like I've probably only seen this one 5 or 6 times, but it was the first film I saw in 2004, and it remains my favorite film from 2004. And one of my top films from the aughts. I love this movie. But I will admit this go round was an interesting, Ron, your timing couldn't have been better. Because I just recently finished reading Charlie Kaufman's 600-page behemoth of a tome called Ant Kind, in which he disappears so thoroughly up his own ass that I really was doubting if I ever wanted to see something his again. And I followed it up immediately with Jim Carrey's novel, Memoirs and Misinformation, in which he went full meta Kaufman and wrote about a character named Jim Carrey, who one of the top characters in the novel is Nicolas Cage, a very interesting version of Nicolas Cage. Kaufman himself is a character in the novel. So yeah, I just finished reading that maybe 2 months ago. So that 1-2 punch and then watching this movie right after, I'm like, I went into it going, will I see it the same way as before? And I have to say, I saw the flaws more than I did before. I'll say that. But the biggest one I can think of is that the film gets kind of busy. I don't think they really needed to include the subplot of finding out that the doctor was kind of a scumbag. Because they already had that with Elijah Wood's character. And it kind of takes away from the whole focus on this procedure itself and the relationship with Joel and Clementine. But that being said, I still think it's a great moment where you find out and you're like, holy shit, this dude's a creep.
It is always a fun reveal.
But yeah, I feel like that was I don't know. That's all wrapped up in my. I'll wrap this up before we go too deep into the actual movie. But I just love it. It's my kind of weird ass trippy kind of thing. I think this time around I was paying very close attention to the editing. I'd say this is one of the best edited films I've seen. And Brandon pointed out some of the other stuff. The production, the music is really great. I can easily see how it's not to all taste, but I can also say that I'm comfortable leaving it as a classic in my mind. But
I did notice that there were 2 Marvel actors in here. Where we got Kirsten Dunst, who played in the Spider-Man trilogy,
right,
and you got what's his name? Ruffalo? Is that?
Mark Ruffalo, yeah. Bruce Banner / Hulk, yep.
Yeah.
But that's not all, though. You've also got, of course, Jim Carrey, famous for playing the Riddler, but who also played Colonel Stars and Stripes in Kick-Ass 2. And you got Tom Wilkinson, who played Carmine Falcone in Batman Begins. And you got Elijah Wood, who played, let's see here, he has had multiple roles dealing in some way, shape, or form with, he played the super creepy role of Kevin in Sin City. But he's also had some roles with the animated DC productions. Let's see here. What was Cyborg Superman / Hank Henshaw in one short film. And at one point today when I was watching this, I was kind of like, oh, and David Cross had a role as Minion in Megamind, which wasn't really a comic book movie, but it was a movie that, might as well have been. But at one point, I kind of looked, I kind of turned around to my brothers were watching it too. And I was like, y'all remember that time when the Hulk and Mary Jane were trying to mind wipe the Riddler, but they screwed it up and had to call in Carmine Falcone to fix it? I just thought that was kind of amusing that there were so many comic book people in there. I think Kate Winslet might be the only one that I don't think she has done one. But it's about time. Kate Winslet, we need you in. But anyways,
I can't believe that classics, the likes of Catwoman and Starship Troopers 2 and The Karate Dog got beat out by this for your favorite film of 2004. That's a little disappointed, Jacob.
Well, I tell you, the close second was Maria Full of Grace. But I need to go and look at the list again to see what other films came out that year. But I do know that I was not 100% synced up with the majority for that year. I know that. But at any rate, I guess we'll launch into, first of all, a slight expansion of what IMDb describes. So basically, you have this couple, there's two individuals. Joel is this very quiet, kind of nebbishy, kind of very restrained individual who's very shy and almost afraid of women. And you got Clementine, who's an absolute free spirit, complete flake, complete, pretty much all live for the moment, seize the day and don't dwell on the past sort of character. And they have this meeting at a beach party on Montauk, that Joel goes to with a couple of his friends to this party and meets this girl who basically insists that they do a break and enter that evening at one of the beach houses. And he goes running away, but he comes back to her. He's drawn to her somehow, and they start a relationship. And it's
see, that's where it kind of gets twisted in my mind. Do they actually, in fact, have a relationship, or is it mostly in his mind? Because did he ever go back to her? Okay.
Oh, they do.
Because to me, it looked like most of that relationship was like in his mind and what he would.
Well, most of the movie is in his mind.
It's like
I'm laying out. Yeah, I'm laying out basic plot right now, but the structure of the film, it's almost all in his head. Which is one of the interesting things about the film. But so basically, they have this tumultuous relationship that starts off hot, heavy, and really, really, like, he is just having the ride of his life. He's never had anything like this. And she, I think, appreciates that he's just a nice, sincere guy. And she warns him not to expect her to become a nice, sincere woman. But, she lets him come along for the ride, I guess, because it's sort of is a, what's the word I want to look for? Sort of a leveling, a calming influence, I guess is what I'm looking for. But before long, the cracks start showing and things get rocky. And one day she's gone. He can't get in touch with her. And when he goes to find her, she doesn't even know who he is. And he comes to find out from his friends. From his friends. Who are, Jane Addams and David Cross. Incidentally, of course, Joel is Jim Carrey and Clementine is, Kate Winslet. His friends, Cross particularly takes has sympathy for him and shows him a card that says that Clementine Krasinski, I think was her name, has erased Joel Barish from her mind. Please don't mention their relationship in her presence or what have you. And he goes storming off to this company called Lacuna that he comes to find out that is their stock in trade. They erase memories. As we talked about before, they sometimes it's people, sometimes it's you see one woman sitting in the waiting room and she's clearly trying to forget her dog, who I guess had passed on. They again, Mary mentions Mary being Kirsten Dunst's character mentions the phobias and things like that, and again traumas. You also are introduced to the Dr. Wozniak, I think his name is, Howard. Mierzwiak, sorry. Howard Mierzwiak, who's played by Tom Wilkinson. He explains the procedure. He lets Joel know, I'm sorry, this is what she chose. Do what you will, with it, but and I can do the procedure for you if you, want to. Basically, it kind of leaves the door open for him. And when Joel comes barreling back in later that day, he's like, okay. Valentine's Day, of course, is their busiest day. I fully get that. Valentine's Day sucks, and I could see how it would make a lot of people want to use this company. He lets them come right in, and he sends his technicians, Stan and Patrick, who Mark Ruffalo and Elijah Wood, over to his apartment that night, and they start the procedure. So a lot of that you actually see in flashback. So this is where it gets kind of interesting, and I guess, Dave, where it gets a little wonky for you. Structurally, the film has a strange, kind of fun structure. It starts with Joel and Clementine meeting on a bus, they think for the first time. And this is the next day. He basically decides to play hooky from work. He decides on the whim to go to Montauk, and he meets her on the bus. And so there's a little bit of that intro. And then we kind of start seeing his memories, but it's not clear at first that that's what we're seeing.
And because of those memories, it goes back to that memory of them breaking in, and he never went back. And because they have that moment of unsurety, like, why didn't you come back? Why didn't you do anything with me? That's why when I thought, hey, this whole relationship that he thought he had in his mind with her never happened. This is in fact their first meeting, So that's what I thought.
Well, in a way, it was their first meeting if you think about the fact that it was erased.
Yeah.
But there is one thing I wanted to put in when it comes to the procedure itself, because of the way they did it. they've set it up basically so people can wipe out entire parts of their brain on a whim.
Yeah.
And that is, let's just say that a lot of laws would have to be repealed to make that not something people would go to jail for doing, because you don't do something like that. Well, I mean, take sex reassignment surgery as a good example, because it's something in modern technology. People don't just go in, it's like, I've had a night of drinking. I think I want to be, I want to do the sex reassignment surgery. If you were to go with this movie's logic, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Well, and actually, it's funny you say that, because at one point, when Joel's getting ready to do the procedure, he's like, will this cause brain damage? And he's like, well, technically the procedure is brain damage, but it's about on par with a night of heavy drinking. Nothing you'll miss. It's like,
Right.
But I think Brandon's right. There are all sorts of potential ethics issues involved with this. And yes, allowing someone as flaky as Clementine to just come in and do it on a whim. Now, they do have guardrails in place. You do hear earlier, Mary was talking on the phone with someone about, we can only do the procedure so many times. You don't want to keep doing this. So they try not to have repeat customers if they can help it. But yes, even doing it the first time, it's kind of irreversible. You're going to, maybe not as irreversible in a sense as sex reassignment, but at least not necessarily as major, I guess. But it's big.
It's sketchy for sure. I mean, I think it's something at that time in my life, I might have considered, but honestly, I think at the end of the day, the anxiety of what could possibly go wrong with it would keep me from ever doing it.
Right.
Like, what if they fuck up and erase like cool things?
Right. And that's one of the things you see in this movie that I was thinking about, that I don't know if I thought about before. But when he's running away from Clementine, trying to hide her in other memories so she can stay, and they keep mercilessly destroying those memories too. And I was like, well, here he's losing unrelated memories. Who's to say this isn't a more regular thing? But yeah, no, they make it pretty clear that what exactly happened with him has not happened often, if at all. But
I could see trolling customers though, maybe, and like,
yeah,
nothing serious, but like, how funny would it be if we just randomly made this guy unable to use a can opener? Like, he doesn't know how. Just little memories like that would be funny to.
Right. Yeah. But like one, and then of course one big ethics thing that is brought up early on with Patrick, Elijah Wood's character, where you come to find out that he had taken it upon himself to insert himself into the life of one of their patients, taking advantage of what he knew to be gaps in her memory and taking advantage of things he knew had worked with her before in terms of lines and that sort of thing. Yeah, he's definitely a creepy dude in this one.
All of these people are unethical as heck. I mean, I'm sorry. Every single part of this, the doctor having the affair and then covering it up. Then there's the two that are there, and they're just having sex, dancing around in their underwear, eating his food,
getting stoned and drunk, and
I mean, this isn't an episode of Grey's Anatomy, which many of those people would also be fired.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is it's just highly unethical behaviors.
Well, unethical, yes, but also before we started, we were the subject of professionalism came up, this is highly unprofessional behavior that these people were showing. They were very pleasant and professional in the office, but clearly not so much when they were in these people's homes. And that's, yeah, like I said, you could make a whole other movie focused more on that. And it almost made this movie a little busy trying to horn in as much as they did of that. Not too bad. I don't think it was too bad. I've seen worse. But I feel like they maybe did a little more than they strictly needed to for the runtime, if that makes sense. But yeah, you could definitely have a whole other movie just like in the Fallout, when at the end where Mary returns everything to all the patients. And you just imagine the fallout from that. That could have made
Right.
an interesting, courtroom drama or some such thing.
I think part of the movie was making the point.
Right.
I think that they really wanted to make the point that this was unethical,
Yeah.
that this wasn't right, and I think they added all of this stuff just to say, well, in case you're too dumb to figure it out for yourself, that this is a highly unethical procedure on its head. Let's just make it extra unethical.
And this is one of the hallmarks, I think, of Kaufman's work, and it's one of the reasons why he's wearing a little thin for me, is that he loves pointing out how much people suck. That's his MO. He loves pointing out how much people suck, what douchebags people are. And that was a big, big part. And in this film, Carrey plays sort of a Kaufman surrogate. He is far and away the nicest, most decent Kaufman surrogate I've seen. John Cusack's character in Being John Malkovich, douchebag. Kaufman himself in Adaptation, douchebag. The character who might as well be Kaufman in Ant-Man, huge douchebag. And that's not to talk about the supporting cast. So this film actually had at least one decent guy to root for, which was probably one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much. But anyway, so yeah, but structurally, again, most of it is in Carrey's head. And then at the end, you've got the follow-up where you see, well, as the movie goes on, you see more and more scenes of the technicians and the doctor doing the stuff, as he's becoming more aware of what's going on and trying to end it. You see them more and more actually doing the procedure and all that other stuff we were just talking about. So, but there, Dave, that's probably the part where you start feeling like Clementine was all in his head, because she becomes an active participant in his thing. It's no longer memories of her. She is a character in this grand escape from his own mind he's trying to do. And she actually, I think she becomes very likable as we get distilled down to what he really truly loved and remembered positively about her. She becomes very likable, and it's kind of interesting to see that progression as you see the way he looks at her changing, I guess you could say. But that's my thought on it. So who else has some thoughts on the basic structure or plot or whatever that they want to?
I think that it's pretty understandable how you could be unsure of the sequence of things or what's real and what's not. I feel like it did take me a couple of times watching this movie, I think, to kind of fully get it all lined up, I don't know that I ever considered it was just all in his head, and that is really fun to think about. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I think it's an interesting way to set up a movie, but I do feel like there was a lot of movies kind of like this back then that had sort of weird jumping around narrative things going on. It was like it was how you showed your movie was quirky and weird, as you just confused people like Dave with the sequence of events.
Yeah. I still need to see Becoming John Malkovich.
You
how
never
about-
saw that? Wow.
Nope, never
I
have.
haven't seen it either.
Ah.
It never appealed to me because I never wanted to become
Oh.
John Malkovich.
It is. It is just I would say a phenomenal film, but it is a weird film. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, they don't exactly go out of their way to make that concept appealing. Like, it's like they kind of bill it as, well, you can be a celebrity. So who wouldn't want to be a celebrity? Except that one of the running jokes in the movie is no one can even remember what he's a celebrity for. They keep saying he's a guy from that Jewel Thief movie. But yeah.
What about you, Tammy and Kroll? Did you all have anything to say about the plot so far?
I agree.
Well, I found the plot interesting, yes, but I'm guessing with David, in a way, it was a little confusing, because the way it starts out with them on the bus thing, and then the train and everything. I thought that's where they met, and then when you get further into the movie, it's like, okay, that's not where they met, but it is where they met. Okay.
Well, yeah, they met at a barbecue on the beach somewhere near that place in Montauk, and it just so happens to be the place that they choose to meet in their minds, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I get that later,
it
but
seems like their minds connect. It seems like their minds connect.
But you kind of stole my thought there, Tammy. I was actually talking and my mic was muted, and I forgot it was muted. Which is why I don't usually mute the friggin' thing, But anyways, yeah, I was a little bit confused too. I'm like, wait a minute, they met on the train, not on the beach. Oh, the train thing hasn't happened. That was afterwards. Okay, even the second time watching it, I had forgotten about that part, and it confused me again, and then I remembered all about it and remember being confused before. So it does jump all over the place, and it is a little bit confusing, but I don't think it's that bad. I don't think you really need to see it a second time to get it all, but I mean, a second time would, maybe help get it more. But it is interesting. I mean, it is dealing with the mind, and basically the beginning was actually after the fact, where they re-met again, and then you find out that they had like somehow connected. Like, I get how he knew to go there because it was in his memory, but how did she know to go there is what I'm wondering about. But at any rate, they end up meeting again, which is really freaking cool. I mean, I like that because it's just, I don't know, it's the romantic in me, I guess.
I have a different take on it, but but again, I'm cynical about it.
Go ahead, dude. Go ahead. Say your take. I mean,
there are two things that I thought about. One I had already thought all along, but the other, it just hit me. It's like, I noticed that he didn't really try to actively save the memories until they erased the bad ones from his head. So the idea basically being that in his mind, he wasn't actually truly thinking it through because he did not have the whole picture there. And that's one thing. Two, when you get to the end of it, of course people are doing it because essentially you're getting people in the same situations, similar friend groups, similar hangouts. They're erasing each other. And again, the movie itself shows this cynically several times. Again, I swear the director treats me like, or treats the audience like they're idiots. But where they basically, almost everybody reconnects because they're all within that same place together, because again, they're going to make the same mistakes because all of the wisdom that they gained was erased. And that's probably one, again, it's
All
another
the knowledge
Right.
of the toxic relationships
that's-
that they had
Yes,
before.
yes.
but again, it's that cynicism, and I swear that I think that's one of the things I don't like about the movie is that it treats the audience like they're idiots. And I feel like he's saying, "You're stupid. Let me spell it out for you." A lot of the time.
Well, maybe. I mean, I definitely think that Kaufman probably does think the audience are idiots, but I don't know that I felt that it was bludgeoning you over the head with that idea. But anyway, I think as far as them knowing where to go at the end, I mean, again, there is that part where she whispers to him, "Meet me in Montauk," and so he
Right.
does. It's like a subliminal Inception sort of thing he's got going on. My read on it was just that she was somehow connected to the area. That was kind of what Brandon was just saying. Like, there are going to be behaviors that you've been repeating all along. And if you eliminate memories of something that might have caused you to change your behavior, then you're going to keep doing those behaviors. So she has always gone to the beach at Montauk, and that's her thing. Of course she'll be there. You know, that's kind of the and I got the impression that that is her thing, that and the Charles River are like her big, you know, hangout spots, basically.
Yeah.
if you will. But
But then why were
copy.
why were we getting her reacting negatively to Elijah Wood's character at the same time?
Because
he's creepy.
Because she's realizing that she probably had like a deja vu, but not like it felt like it happened before, but not with him. Which freaked her out because she's like,
which made me think that her memories aren't quite erased either.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the idea of when it comes to something where humans are playing God, can we ever really do it on that level? I don't think that that's the case in most cases. So that's essentially what you're doing if you're trying to alter someone's brain, trying to erase. You know, it's you're not going to know.
The doctor say something about it that it was something like brain damage.
Yeah.
Yes, well, he did. Yeah, but again, like
he asked if there's any brain damage as well. Basically, the procedure is brain damage at a certain point. Would it be like a hangover? Right. Not something you're gonna miss.
Well, it's like they talk about the particular points that get mapped out, and that helps the technicians figure out where to pinpoint, what to pinpoint, whatever. But that whole procedure relies on the person who's getting their mind wiped, first of all, remembering everything and sharing it with the technicians, sharing it in such a way that they are then able to map I should definitely focus on this, and this maybe not so much. And there's a lot of room for human error just in transcribing one to the next. So yeah, I'm sure there probably is a lot of deja vu with these patients. And Elijah Wood was trying to basically relive Joel's courtship of her.
Oh,
and that would have set off flags right and left, I would think.
Yeah.
It's deeply creepy. I mean, I love that they put that in the movie because it's
stealing her underwear and then just basically stealing his lines and stealing like everything. Like, yeah, he was definitely like super fucking creepy.
I love that this was practically his first film after The Return of the King. That's like, wow.
He definitely wanted to go. I mean, a lot of actors do. They want to go completely away from where they were typecast, so they're not typecast.
Elijah has done a great job.
Yeah, he really has. He's been like was it Wilfred or Willard or whatever it was.
Wilfred.
I mean, I knew he had done that, and that was really fucking weird.
And again, Sin City. Oh my god, he was creepy character in that one.
I don't
He
think
was in the
I.
remake of Maniac. The
Right.
more I think about it, Daniel Radcliffe is kind of following the Elijah
Yeah, I was
Wood
gonna
template.
say.
Yeah,
for-
Right.
They're very
like I said, a
similar
lot
in
of
what
them
they
do.
did after.
Right.
I mean, Emma Watson hasn't really. I mean, she's been in a few other things, but nothing. She hasn't
She
really
didn't get
been like.
weird with it like Daniel
Oh,
Yeah,
did.
she hasn't really
She has
gone weird with
gone
it. But,
weird, but she has definitely gone in different and weird directions and some, but not weird the way it would.
Right.
yeah, she hasn't gone completely crazy with it like the Daniel Radcliffe has and
Right.
Elijah Wood has. And,
Dude, Elijah Wood's the
He's-
OG. That picture of him like smoking a cigarette, riding on that electric scooter is one of my favorite things in the world. He just looks so happy, like he could give a shit that he was in Lord of the Rings anymore, I think. Other than that, he likes the fans, you know, but it's like he's in a different world, you know. The guy didn't let the fame get to him. He's wearing these high water pants. It's fucking amazing.
yeah, I mean,
All
that's
right.
cool.
So,
He was always kind of weird though. I mean, he was doing like shit like The Good Son when he was little, so I suppose it
Oh,
was
yeah.
meant to be, you know.
well, in that one, technically, he was the good son, and it was Macaulay Culkin who was the little creepy
Evil one.
one in there. But yeah, but I love that movie when I was a kid.
Oh, I still love it. It's rad.
But anyway, slightly off topic there. So that covers Patrick as a character. And we've talked, I guess, a little bit on Joel and Clementine. Do we have any more we want to put out about them as characters? Anyone have a
Let's-
particular?
I just wanted to say one more thing. I like the
Huh?
colored hair.
I gotta say too, that's not a turn off for me either.
I mean, it's not a turn on or off. But, I mean, I liked it. Some women can
Right.
pull it off, and if they can pull it off, and it looked good on her. It really did. The different hairstyles,
Yeah.
especially that tangerine look. That was a really good one.
She's got a
and the
Ramona
colored hair.
vibe.
Yeah. She's sort of the Ramona character in this one,
Yeah,
although
Kate
probably even
Winslet is
more of a flake.
Definitely a gorgeous woman, and she definitely could play it off well with different hair colors. Some women can't, you know. I mean, so you know, if you can play it off and do it well, and you know, and you want to, I have no problem with that. So.
Actually, come to think of it, as much as he
that.
hated Scott Pilgrim, it would have been interesting to hear Dane's take on this one. But oh well, I guess
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Right.
I love that movie.
Oh, it was fun. That was a good discussion too. We got a lot on that one.
I think that, you know, they're the perfect pair to tell this story through. They're very convincing in their roles, you know. I mean, you can totally buy her character in this movie as that kind of dangerous girlfriend, you know,
crazy girl
that you're gonna fall desperately in love with, but you know she's not gonna stay around forever, and maybe she might like turn you on to reggae and try drugs with you for the first time or something, you know, like that weird chick that comes into the life of a guy like this. And I think there's a lot of people out there that can
she's
relate.
the girlfriend you need to have, but you're definitely not gonna keep it forever.
And also, when this movie came out, there was kind of a free spirit wild sort of character. Not this wild, but there was someone I was really interested in that had a lot of similarities with this character.
I feel you. I've been there.
Yeah.
Me too.
And again, as far as the main well, we were talking about how against type Elijah Wood was trying to go. I do think this is Jim Carrey's most restrained role. He did a very low key turn in The Majestic. He did a very low key turn in The Number 23, but this is definitely his most low key, restrained, kind of every guy kind of character. He has his, I guess you could say, Jim Carrey moments, but. And then Kate Winslet, on the other hand, she's usually the figure of restraint. You know, in Dave cited Titanic earlier. You know, she was, you know, she had some wild moments there, but for the most part, she was kind of restrained, the good girl. You know, You
Even
know,
with her boobies
not
out.
as much.
The
Not as much
murderer
in
of
heaven.
Leonardo DiCaprio, but we won't go
Yeah,
there.
not as much in Heavenly Creatures. She was murderous, a little schemer in that one. But this is, I think, one of her wildest roles, one of her most free, uninhibited characters. It's also one of the most straight down the line American accents I've heard her do, and she nailed it. But yeah, it's they were both a little bit against type in this, and that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it. I like seeing people do that, and it's kind of fun. But yeah. So anyone else? Well, do we have any thoughts on our Dr. Howard Mierzwiak or on
Well,
Stan,
He
the
wasn't
Mark
exactly
Ruffalo character?
a responsible doctor since he didn't
No.
realize what was happening during the home procedure.
No.
They were drinking beer. They were having sex. They were doing all kinds of things while he was just like hooked up to this like Doc Brown head clamp thing, so
You're right.
Hey man, it's a delicate procedure, okay? Many rituals are required to focus the mind. It's just...
Yeah, but if you're doing anything with the brain, you do not have a fucking private party on
Hey,
on their
they're just
fucking like
trying to achieve that post-nut clarity. So
living room. And it looked like they were going into his fridge for the shit. So it's
Oh
like
yeah, they were.
Yeah.
they were chomping on his bit,
They were
That's not-
totally mooching on him.
I actually had thought that the Doctor was one of the most respectable characters there, the person who tried to bring
Right.
bring respectability to the procedure. He was the professional one. He had taken charge. And then, of course, the movie pulls the rug right out from under you by showing, no, he's not respectable at all. He's a dick. And he sleeps with one of his coworkers within an affair with his wife.
Right.
That's, yeah. Mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
like I
I
said,
love
I
how
think
the-
that
I
What's
love
up?
how the wife comes over and she's like, "You can have him, because you already have."
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway.
And she's like, what? Yeah. And again, I admit this time around, I was kind of like, I kind of liked that he was the responsible guy, that he was I wonder, it's an interesting thought question about the movie. Would it have worked better if the company had not been thoroughly discredited during the course of the film? Just that we see that some of the people who work for them don't do their jobs well. Or does it work better to see them thoroughly dragged through the mud from top to bottom at the end? It's kind of, which one works better? I don't really know, but that moment where you find out what he's done, it is an effective moment, and I
Yeah.
do kind of like it.
I think that the idea would be more effective if you kind of give that Dr. Frankenstein as a monster approach, that he creates this thing, yet he has lost control over it.
Yeah, that's
And
Yep.
that he's fully well-meaning. I think that in the director's shot of showing that, oh no, everybody is evil, fuck them all, is, that's I feel like that kind of hinders it. I think
Yeah.
that it could have been more than what it was.
It's more of a hard line taken than necessarily needs to. I think it's more sinister to imply that it's on the surface it's a benevolent pursuit, but there's obviously these slacker motherfuckers that cause issues with it or something that can happen,
Right.
because he can't
They're like-
really
they're like those-
control. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say they're like the cooks in the kitchen that spit in your food.
Exactly. That's not happening at every Denny's, but it's happening at a fair amount of them, and that's something you should fucking think about when you're ordering that Grand Slime breakfast. Be nice to the waitress.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
I
I don't
kind of
know.
feel I
Oh,
kind of
sorry.
feel the same way with again with Stan. Like you feel like he has to be complicit in this whole thing with the doctor. Like there's no way, he tells Mary he kind of suspected it, but he didn't know. But you kind of feel like, yeah, if he didn't know, it might have been because he made efforts not to see it. That would be my guess. He seems like a decent guy generally, just terrible at professionalism and doing what he's supposed to when he's at work. But and I will say, I don't think Mary was all that bad of a person, other than her enabling these slackers to slack. She came across as more of like what someone that age would probably typically be. But
This was still when Kirsten Dunst was still in that hot stage too. I mean, she's still good looking.
She was.
She's still good looking even
Yeah.
now. It's just her dancing around in her panties.
It wouldn't have worked as
David.
well in Power of the Dog as it did in this one.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyone else have any character thoughts? Anything the ones we talked about, or any of the other characters?
I don't know. I think we basically covered it for the most part to my standard or whatever. It's a good mixed cast of people. Obviously there's a lot of powerhouse people on the cast, and they're all playing kind of unique characters in a sense.
Right.
So, you're certainly not. It's not a boring cast of characters by any means.
Right.
So it's definitely something that works in favor of the movie being enjoyable. Is that you have all these decent players playing decent parts.
Yes, indeed.
Sadly, no Hulk out from Mark Ruffalo this time either. Though.
I know.
He
Although
let us down in that Western, and he's letting us down now.
One does get the impression that in another life, this could have been a young Bruce Banner. There's definitely some similarities there. But I have a feeling Banner wouldn't have slacked off that badly at his job. Except, of course, when he's dealing with gamma radiation, because, we know how that went.
You just got to jump directly in front of it. That's how you get the best results.
Right. Okay. So, is there anything else that you want to cover about the plot of the film itself that we haven't already? Like, anyone have particular commentary there on structure or scenes or parts that they were still scratching their heads about or whatever?
No.
Yeah, I think just overall, I really like the sort of message the movie has about maybe think about something like that a little bit more before you do it, and the repercussions of erasing an entire person, because you have good memories with people even if you have grown to hate them or something. And those memories were good for a reason. So it's like, is your life really better if you don't have those either?
Right.
Again, I've kind of been in that situation when this movie came out at a time when I was. And, I came to the same conclusion that I think, as bad as it turned out, that I still would prefer to hold on to those good times, so.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's about, like, when you look at it, I do think it's sad when you look at the whole idea, the impulsivity of it all, and of course him realizing, wait, I don't want this erased after all, but only after the bad memories at the end of the relationship were erased. And but I think it's important that we have those, unless it traumatizes you and doesn't let you function. If we don't have those types of memories to shape us, we are not going to be able to move forward, or we will repeat our mistakes.
at the moment.
Right. Yeah.
At
Those
the
who
moment that he
those who
chose
forget.
to, at the moment that he chose to, he thought at that point in time that it was that he couldn't get over the relationship and or anything like that. So
Yeah.
in a blight moment, some people think like the worst.
Right.
Oh,
And
for sure, dude. I mean, you know, when I was all heartbroke, I thought for sure that the rest of my life I was going to feel that way, you know. But just going through it like normally without a bunch of fucking people having sex in my apartment and erasing my memories, you know, it's you find that you're better off at the other end of it, you know. Now I can look back on the good memories and be like, yeah, it sucks that it went that way, but that was like years ago. I'm cool now. So.
Like one thing that was Mary's thing in the movie, she talks about she has a quote book, a Bartlett's quote book, and one that she particularly likes that she shares a couple times are "Blessed are the forgetful, for they get the better even of their blunders," which is apparently a Nietzsche quote, at least according to the film. And at one point, she quotes Alexander Pope, the poem Eloisa de Abelard, which is the origin of the title. How happy is the blameless vestal's lot, the world forgetting, by the world forgot, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, each prayer accepted, and each wish resigned. And yes, those sound lovely. They do sound very intriguing, and I can see how they would be admired by people like this. But
I love how you said it, how she said it, and not how the
Yeah.
doctor rephrased it. It was Pope
Right.
Alexander, not Alexander Pope.
right. Yes, yes. What was I going to say? But there's another quote that comes to mind, and Brandon's take on the film, I think this quote was probably very much in the forefront for Kaufman and probably for Gondry, which was, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely, I think, one of the undercurrents of this one is that, you know, there's a reason why we have memories. And,
Yep.
you know, and I admit, this is one of the reasons I like this film, because it came out at a time where I was all about movies that made you think. And I was like, that was my thing. I love movies that made you think. And I do think this, I disagree with Brandon. I don't think this movie is pounding a message into your brain. I think it is showing you a few different things and letting you make of it what you will. Although I think it's pretty clear that there are certain, I guess we could say, correct interpretations. I don't think that it's necessarily bludgeoning you with them.
I agree.
But at any rate, care for rebuttal.
Oh, I'm not going to be beating the dead horse. My point has been made.
Right.
He beat
at
the horse
the
to
end of
death
the day-
once. He's done.
At the end of the day, for my first time watch, and then listening to how this movie, you know, is seen through your guys' eyes, I guess it wouldn't hurt for a second watch, but the first watch was not enjoyable. I will say that. So, that being said, anyone else have anything?
Well,
Good.
it declined for me by the fifth watch to worse, so I guess it didn't help me on that.
I don't know that it's meant to be an enjoyable movie, even if it does click with you. You know, it's one of those ones where it's kind of hard for me to watch in certain ways. But again, I've got the benefit of years behind me with that situation, so it doesn't bother me like it maybe did at the time. But it was also weirdly therapeutic watching it in that situation too. And I guess I can kind of understand the everything sucks mentality when you're in that state, you know. So I don't know. I don't think it's supposed to be a fun movie. It does have some nice visuals in it, though. I think whether
Yeah,
you
Kirsten
dislike the
Dunst
movie or
dancing
not.
half naked.
Well,
There you go.
that's one of them. Yes. I think.
And maybe
Sorry.
Mark Ruffalo, if Tammy might like that. I don't know.
Well, it's one of those few movies, or rare movies, I should say, where I kind of like every piece of art or design stuff associated with it. Even this poster you guys have as the background here is a really neat poster concept, where it's like the pieces of the magazine pages torn away, like they're tearing away the memories, kind of a thing. And
I have nothing but praise when we get to the production design.
And again, like I said, even that first trailer I saw where they were playing Mr. Blue Sky, it was like such an appropriate song to kind of promote this one. It's like I just loved it. And but yeah, I think we probably should, unless anyone has any objections, we can roll on over into production.
I think ELO needs more love.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
You would be happy to know, Jacob, that throughout most of the production of Street Trash, the director was wearing various ELO shirts because apparently he was a big fan of the band. So.
Well, that's good to know. I'm sure it was Jeff Lynne, I guess, is their frontman. He was probably quite happy about that himself, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with Mo on the production design with the poster. There's a reason why I chose this particular one as the background. Very amazing right there.
Yeah,
I do
cool.
like the poster.
Mm-hmm. So if we had our best poster cover design for this, well, this one, the alternate poster, of course, is just the picture of Clementine and Joel on the frozen river. And honestly, I think that's almost an iconic image too.
Yeah, I would agree.
I do like this one a lot, but they're both pretty awesome. But as far as the actual production, again, Gondry is a Frenchman who did a film that is another acclaimed film he did was called The Science of Sleep. And if I remember correctly, I think that came out before this did. And it might have been part of how he got the part of the director. Of course, yeah, and I still need to see that myself. But
it's an excellent film, beautiful film.
Okay, and he did a lot of music video. Okay, he was a music video director who did, among other things, multiple Bjork films.
Dude, there was a joke I had earlier when I was talking about the girl. Like I almost said, would have lent you a Bjork album instead of turned you on to reggae when I was talking about Kate Winslet's character.
Right.
That makes total sense. And you can see a music video sensibility in the movie for sure.
He also did music videos for the likes of Sheryl Crow with A Change Would Do You Good, Foo Fighters with Everlong, Wyclef Jean with Another One Bites the Dust. He did a couple of them for the White Stripes. He has definitely got he is well known for his visuals. The Science of Sleep came after this, actually. So maybe this gave him. Oh, he also did that Dave Chappelle's Block Party, and I was disappointed by that. That was a pretty run-of-the-mill documentary, but everyone raved about it. But I need to see that again. But point is, this is a guy who knows his way around images. He knows his way around creative edits and cuts and what have you. And
he did Be Kind Rewind. That's kind of cool.
Did he do that? Okay, I must have missed that part. Movie. Okay, that was kind of fun. And appropriate, I would say. But basically, as we said, much of the film takes place inside Joel's head. The scenes that take place outside of it are, I would say, filmed in mostly a pretty conventional sense, I guess you could say. But the film's in his head. There are a lot of scenes where things fade, disappear, break down, crumble. You see edits where Joel sits down in one room and ends up in another room entirely. And I think in terms of trying to show a visual on what it's like to be in a dream, I think this film does better than most. And
It's
that's
practically a
pretty
master
impressive.
class in the shit, dude.
Right.
Oh yeah, I agree. Totally, like the library is a good example because they returned to the library because of when they met at the library, which was confusing to me the first time I watched it.
Mhm.
But I loved how they had the books stretch and the aisles move. To me, this was a masterful showing of production design.
And this was one that this is one of the reasons why I remember very clearly why that this one and Maria Full of Grace were both from 2004, because I remember very clearly in the 2005 Oscars thinking that the two best films of the year got shafted because both movies were up for actress, Kate Winslet and Catalina Cedina Moreno. This won original screenplay for Charlie Kaufman, Michel Gondry, and Pierre Bismuth. That was it. Between the two films, 3 nominations. This was not nominated for editing, for visual effects, for cinematography, for any of that stuff, not to mention the much publicized snub for Jim Carrey, his 4th in a row. This was probably the last time people talked seriously about Carrey getting thoroughly snubbed, although I think there were a couple since then. I Love You, Philip Morris, I think, got some talk about him getting snubbed, so there were a couple, but it's, and Winslet herself, this was her 4th or 5th time at bat, and she didn't end up winning until 2 years later, and she got a controversial win for actress for The Reader, which was a supporting role. Politics, but I'm glad she won, but still politics.
Well, this film did have 73 wins and 111 nominations.
Oh, it was up for a bunch of BAFTAs. It was up for a lot of critics awards. There were definitely some people that and it got original screenplay and a special recognition from the National Board of Review. There was a lot of stuff that this one did get, just the Oscars didn't. Yeah, they just weren't feeling it. And I think this was Kaufman's first Oscar win after Malkovich and Adaptation. I think both went home empty-handed in that category, if I remember correctly. I know Adaptation got supporting actor for Chris Cooper, and I was yay, he was great in that one. But anyway, and then we talked about the music a little bit, and what are y'all's thoughts on the music for this one?
Oh, beautiful.
I think the music was well done as well as the production. Everything worked well together. Nothing was, totally distracting. It did its job. Yeah.
So
we had a score by John Bryan, who himself had a lot of career in pop music. Like, I think he's a producer for a lot of singers, if I remember correctly. He's done a few scores too, but he has done a lot. He has produced a lot of albums. And I think he and Gondry probably had even worked together before. But yeah. Anyway, Brandon, you were getting ready to say something?
I'd actually go as far to say, and I don't say this very often for them, but this is actually a soundtrack that I could listen to on its own, with, of course, the music that they've the songs that they also took as well added in. I think that this is a wonderful soundtrack on its own.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to the ELO song being attached to it, actually a couple of them, I think, there's also music on there by the Polyphonic Spree, which is like, this sort of big band rock outfit from Texas. And then we also got a few tracks by Beck on there. The Willows were also on the soundtrack. They did several songs for it. So some decent music attached to it outside of the score as well. Oh, shit. Jake must not be a fan of the Willows.
Oh yeah, he kind of like left. Well, so there he is.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that, Mo. I didn't mean to duck while you were in the middle.
No worries.
Mo was like, you must not like the Willows because you were talking about the Willows and you like.
I'm out. No. well, actually, like one really fun example. And I say before, like some people are like the music is best when you hardly notice it, and I'm like, there are movies where that's sort of the case, but there are movies where the music calling attention to itself works really well for the movie. And a good example of that is that bus ride at the beginning where they have that very rocky reunion, if you will, because Joel's trying to hide himself in his book and Clementine keeps trying to talk to him. And when she's speaking, the music is playing, very jaunty, upbeat, cheerful music. And then when she gives up and slumps back down in her seat, the music cuts off. And then when she tries again, the music starts again. And I just thought that was a really cool little touch.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That's
And there
cool
are
sound
also
design,
what's that?
whatever, cool sound
Yeah.
design or whatever.
Yeah, great sound design. Yeah. And there were a couple other parts where I just thought the score was just gorgeous. Like there are pieces of music here that are really nice. So
I guess because I was trying to listen or trying to watch the story and see where it went and how staccato it jumped around. I didn't really notice the music. So maybe on a second viewing, I might be able to notice
it. It is nicely woven in there, and I think that is something we probably should have clarified all the times we've talked about the soundtrack not being noticeable, and it meaning that's doing its job or whatever. Yeah, you're right, dude. Obviously, there are times when it's better to go the other direction with it, and I think with a highly visual movie like this, using the music in conjunction with what you're seeing is definitely a good idea.
And there are times where the music being front and center can have decidedly mixed results. Normally, I would say I flippin' love almost every Martin Scorsese film for the music. Almost every Scorsese film I've seen, I thought that his musical choices rocked. But the big exception for me, and I need to go back and watch the film and see if I feel the same way, but to watch a period piece like Gangs of New York that's blasting U2 from start to finish, I found that very distracting and off-putting. And even though I liked the music, it really kicked me out of the film.
You had to ruin it there, Jake, because I was going to say that should be your reaction anytime someone's blasting U2, but you had to go and say...
No, U2 is a good band, but yeah.
Right. I will admit, I've probably only seen the film once, maybe twice, and it's been a while. So I need to give it another go. But yeah,
I think distracting and off-putting is probably the best description of Gangs of New York.
I love the movie, but yeah,
it was mostly good.
Yeah, I love Gangs of New York.
And Daniel Day-Lewis was flipping awesome in that film.
Yeah, it's one of his best. That and There Will Be Blood are like the two for me. But yeah, man, I mean that's fair. You shouldn't be putting stuff like that in a period piece.
But at the same time,
I think it's neat that they did do it because it's not something you would expect.
Well, I mean,
depends on the film.
Look at First Night. First Night is a good example where there's a lot of contemporary music and styling. To throw it into something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about like they play, like say maybe they do the U2 covers, but they do it with the instruments of the time, kind of a thing, and make a sound like at first you're like, oh, this is just music of the time, but then you listen and like, no, really, it's Thunderstruck by AC/DC or something.
Right. That'd be something.
Yeah.
Well, that is what they do for Bridgerton.
Yeah. Nice. Well, yeah. So, yeah, at any rate, I think it had sort of a dreamy, the music had a little bit of a dreamy quality at times. Like I said, it had kind of a jaunty, upbeat quality when it was playing for Clementine. It had, it did its part pretty well overall. I think anyway.
Yeah, I would agree.
so,
I can't think
yeah.
of any technical aspect of this movie where it fails in the slightest.
Right.
It's just maybe the narrative or the whole idea of it don't vibe with people. But for a piece of movie making, it's damn good.
Right. And despite what Dave said at the beginning about the color of Clementine's hair, I think it adds a bit of character to the film. It definitely makes her character more memorable in some ways.
I agree.
Well, anyway, so yeah, that the film did have an appalling lack of mustaches, but
yeah, it's
other
a lot
than-
in life, Jake. The movie gods are not shining on us lately.
Well, maybe Kate Winslet would have had a mustache if she got to play the guy's part. When she said she'll be Abigail, but he ran away instead of playing with her.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. She is British, so I guess in her current roles, maybe. But
I would have settled for a Kate mustache. That would work.
Oh, jeez. So, anyway, did anyone have any other comments about the film itself, or shall we go into favorites?
I don't know. Watch it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. There you go. Cool.
It was a nice film.
It was nice.
Yeah, a real feel-good experience for the whole family. Pop it
Don't you
on.
know any other abbreviation?
Yeah. Actually, kind of a weird side note, though. I did go see it with someone that I do regret not asking out. So, yeah.
Jacob,
Such
I
is
don't
life.
recall us seeing this movie together.
Maybe you did. Maybe you did go out with her and you had your memory.
Oh, no. I did a lot of memory erasure during those years, but it was the old-fashioned way with lots of booze and
alcohol.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we'll start with you, Kroll. Do you have a favorite character in this film, and do you have like a favorite moment or scene?
No, I'd say that Kate Winslet's character is probably my favorite. She's just a great character. So spontaneous and witty and fun. I'm not really all those things, but I can see how it's appealing. I'm not really exactly like Jim Carrey's character, but probably closer to his than hers. But I really like her character. I mean, I love his character too. But yeah, I'd say her character is probably my favorite. As far as scenes, them dancing on the bed while he's sleeping and in their underwear and stuff was definitely a great scene.
Right.
And then as far as his memories go, when he's a little boy and she's trying to get him to stop crying and she lifts up her skirt to show her underwear.
Right.
to like basically a 4-year-old, so I mean he's like ew, but it was just kind of funny, that she tried to go there and she had we had seen the scene where she said that she would make a great mother and he had said something that she would not, and you kind of see there that he may have been more right, because she had no clue what to do with him as a baby, and if she had been that great mother as she thought she would be, I think she would at least have an idea what to try to do. And
Right.
lifting up your skirt, trying to show your pussy to a 4-year-old is not the idea.
Probably not.
Not
Right.
the idea. Besides getting yourself arrested or whatever, it's not gonna help. So yeah, that's definitely, I don't know. That scene just kind of cracks me up, and it's wrong. It's wrong in so many ways that it's just kind of fun. So.
Okay. I like her look in that one with like the retro
Oh, yeah,
look with
she
this
looks-
really straight hair and everything. I don't know.
in
I think
the
she's
boot, like the go
Right.
boots, and
right.
and everything. Yeah, and I love the way her reaction to her look. She's like, "Wow, look at me, look what I'm wearing," and oh, this kitchen, like she was totally into the retro vibe there,
Right.
and it was really cool. Because she's all about different experiences. Like
Right.
anything that's a different experience, she wants to go for.
And that was one particular shout out to make as well for the production was, of course, the makeup and hair, but also the costume design.
Oh yeah.
Although there was one,
And the whole design of the apartment itself, of the house itself, it looked very retro and
right.
So it was well done.
But Kroll, you cited one scene where they did drop the ball with the costume design, and they missed an opportunity to give Mark Ruffalo purple shorts, and
Yeah.
They could have.
They could have at least included that to compensate for the disturbing lack of mustaches.
Although it might have been a little bit fun watching Mark Ruffalo run around in his underwear, dancing around, but
Maybe there's a mustache cut of this where everyone has mustaches. That would be pretty
there you
cool.
go. Well, I like I said, I just
release the mustache cut.
Yeah.
I could see Kate Winslet like her character like putting on like a fake mustache thing, like as pretending to be the dude of the house, and she just seems like someone that would do that totally.
And she would have a different style and different color each time she changed the color of her hair. But
The mustache would match her hair. Or
So,
maybe it would match her hair. Maybe you should change the mustache to a different color than her hair. Just be something different.
anyway,
Green
Dave,
mustache and blue hair.
Dave, are you? What's your favorite character and scene / moment?
My favorite character was Kirsten Dunst's character. When she danced up top the bed. I don't know what it was, but
we know what it was.
I just didn't. Well, besides the case, my favorite scene Kroll mentioned when he was a little kid. I liked the way he reacted and responded. I like Jim Carrey and his role. I like his role. There's just something I just dislike about Kate Winslet and the way that she acts. I don't know. No, in this movie, it just wasn't my speed. So, but I think that moment, and then I think the moment where they were showing him going through that house for some reason. I liked that scene when he was talking to her and in his mind for some reason. Other than that, those are some of my favorites.
So hear me out, Dave.
Okay.
Imagine those same sexy scenes, but with mustaches. Eh? Is that doing it for you?
Make me puke in my mouth. Wait. Now, if Jim Carrey had the same mustache he has in Sonic,
Nice.
I think it would be better though
How about
if
mustaches
Kirsten
on their
Dunst had
on their
that
panty
mustache.
lines? How about mustaches down on their panties? I mean, that'd be something.
What do you guys got against lip warmers, man? Come on.
Well,
2022.
those are lips. I mean, for the girls there.
Anyway. Tammy, do you have a favorite character and a favorite scene or moment?
Well, my favorite character was Joel or Jim Carrey's character. I felt so sorry for him for most of the movie. He seemed like one of those good guys that nobody realizes is out there that he's actually a good guy, and just keeps, passed up all the time. So you just felt sorry for him. I guess my favorite moment would be when they're on the lake or river or whatever that is.
Charles River.
Yeah. And they were, well, not really ice skating, but, playing around on it and then doing the
Snowy ice angels.
Yeah. I thought it was really neat. It was romantic. It was cute. So, I mean, I like that.
I did like that scene too, because it got him out of his shell because he wasn't sure.
But did you like it with Elijah Wood?
It was so fun and like innocent and everything. It was just like everything all together,
Yeah.
Oh.
I would have probably been like him, like the ice might break, or like I don't think I'd be too happy with walking out there and then laying on the cold water. But yeah.
But that's
you'll hear if it's gonna break, if it's.
Oh, I know. It just.
I
understand where it comes from on that. Like be like freaky for me.
No, I understand where Carl's coming from. I've never liked to go out on the ice, and when my dad took me out on the ice in the car on Lake Winnebago by us is not a really big lake, and it's not a very deep lake, so it really freezes. It's only got there's a small area that it's 80 feet or more, okay? And it's known for they go out there ice fishing. I mean, you see the ice shanties and cars and stuff all over the lake in the winter, man. I mean, everywhere,
Ice fishing is amazing.
But my dad took me out on it in the car, and we get out there, and I'm just sitting there in the seat I don't like this.
We're on a lake.
See, here in the RVA, we're lucky if it freezes solid 6 inches out into the water.
It's kind of
very rarely does that.
At first, and he's like, look at that car, look at that car, look at that car, look at all these people, and I'm just looking at him and that's supposed to make me feel better.
I mean, if we were in a boat, I wouldn't mind, but we're not in a boat, so I don't take it like this.
You get used to it if you.
I finally chilled out though, because that's how he taught me how to drive in this. That's how he taught me how to drive in the snow.
Chilled out you chilled out on the ice.
I think Dave needs to take you up to the lake and get some snow angels on. That's what needs to happen.
All right. So, Brandon, did you have a favorite character or favorite scenes?
At the end of it, I really didn't like any of the characters, so no on that. But as far as favorite scenes, I'm trying to think. I did find it. I liked the library thing just because I like the visuals, but I also, just because it was weird, the whole scene where he visualizes a child where he's killing the bird, and then she goes like, I'll make you feel better, you can kill me, and then they're sitting there with him suffocating her to death with a pillow, and I'm like, so that scene always takes me right out of the story, but I guess that's why it sticks out to me.
Okay. All right. How about you, Mo?
Well, a lot of my favorite stuff has already been touched on, so I'm not going to just rehash that. So, I don't know. There's a lot of...
Tell us what it is. Which ones was it?
Well, basically, it's stuff that a lot of you guys have already mentioned. Of course, I like some, panty dancing, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But it's I don't know. There's a lot of scenes in
Who
the movie that
wouldn't?
are pretty great. I think honestly it is a gigantic clip show of pretty great scenes, but you know, maybe the way that they're presented is something certain, you know, people have a hard time dealing with. Favorite character is probably Elijah Wood's character on this viewing. I like
He
how
was the
deeply
villain.
creepy that is. Yeah, it is so slimily creepy, you know, without even really being violent or anything. That's the best kind of creepy in movies, where
Yeah,
it's
he's
like,
definitely he's not violent, but yeah,
He's more
super
like
creepy.
pathetically creepy than
Yeah.
any. You know.
Yeah,
exactly. He means, I don't know if he means
you almost feel
well,
bad for
but
him, but
in his own twisted way, he's innocently going about this. So you're almost
Yeah.
like, no, bro,
yeah,
you
like I
can't
said,
be doing that.
it's like you almost feel bad
well,
for him, but then you're like, well, you know, you kind of go over
he's
the line.
he's stealing he's stealing Joel's like work like while he was like his artwork and his poems, and he stole the gift to
Yeah.
give to and he gave it to
Yeah.
her, not Joel.
It's so thought out that it's like it is a proper level of creepy that I just enjoy, you know, where it's like, holy shit, bro. This has gone on way farther than probably even you wanted it to, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be my favorite character. But
Originally, he didn't have all the props. You know, he just met her and knew a little bit of what they erased. But you know, he didn't have all the props. Then when he came in, he's like, oh. Now I got all these other props and I got the present and everything. That's when he fully got into it. And that may be when, you know, in his head, something might have clicked, said, you know, this might be too far, going too far. You know?
Which actually is one of the interesting potential ethical questions raised by the film, is that part of the procedure is, again, you take everything you can find that reminds you of that person or dog or whatever, and they turn it in to the clinic. And I guess the implication is that it will be disposed of.
Yeah.
But obviously they're going to be turning in valuables that it makes you wonder, is the clinic going to be then selling those off? Have they got a thriving eBay page going on the side? Or have they got like a fence doing stuff on the black market? I mean, you know, do they have, but also there is the personal stuff and the very real possibility of identity theft and that kind of thing. Not to mention what Patrick does, which is basically to steal the stuff, and you know, yeah. So it's interesting, but at any rate,
and what did he do with those paintings he stole?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to know.
That's none of our business. So.
We don't know,
but
we never found out.
Right.
Personally, I'd wear them,
right.
but that's just me.
Yeah. So
well, I can see Elijah Wood doing that.
Yes. For me personally, I will be honest, when I first saw this, I think probably Clementine probably was one of my favorite characters, and Mary was probably one of my favorite characters. I would still definitely say that Mary is one, but my take on Clementine has changed dramatically from what I think was my first take. But I will say there are two Clementines. There's the one that we know from what we know is her. And then there's the one that Joel has remembered. And the deeper we get into his memory and the more of himself he is projecting onto her, she actually becomes a really cool character. But you know it's just Joel projecting. So it's like, does that count as a favorite character? I don't know, but I really enjoy those scenes with her later on. Joel himself is also a character that I can relate to more than I would like. And I can definitely appreciate and sympathize with him. So he's probably up there, but I guess Mary would be the top favorite character. But the scenes later on with, again, the the Clementine of Joel's memory. Particularly, there's one scene where they're kind of out in the country, and there's that there he's under a log and she's kind of up on it and whatever. I don't know what it is. I have always loved that scene. That is probably my single favorite. I love the scene where they revisit that house, and he's in that little sequence where he says, "And I just walked away." And she's like, well, why didn't you come back? And that little interchange they have there that ends with her whispering to him, "Meet me in Montauk." I really like that sequence too. So that might be a second. Mary dancing in her skivvies definitely rates honorable mention. I will not deny that.
Man. One could argue that there is actually 3 Clementines. Okay, there's the real Clementine.
Okay.
There is the version of Clementine that exists with Joel's projections. And then there's the mustachioed one that lives in our hearts, bro. Okay.
Lives in our hearts forever. Yes. But at any rate, I guess is that about do her? Do we have this one pretty well wrapped up?
We do. I think so.
Okay.
There's actually 3 Clementines in the movie, if you think about it. There's the made-up Clementine in his mind. There's the real Clementine before her memory is erased, and then there's the real Clementine after her memory.
That's true. She is a different
person without those memories. So
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, she does still meet up with him and kind of reenacts how they meet. It's on a train instead of on the beach, but she still sits by him. She still talks to him. She obviously doesn't steal his chicken because he does not eating one. But
actually, yeah. You mentioned. I have to say this because I was just looking at this yesterday, and it just but you just made me think about it. Yesterday I was looking up Alice in Wonderland quotes, and there's one where Alice says, "It's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then." And that is very true of the characters who undergo this procedure. Very, very. I mean, it's true of most people, but very much of the these people. But anyway, unless we have any objections, I guess we should wrap this up and move on to Liar Liar, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us for this discussion of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And in a short bit here, Dave will lead us in a slightly different Jim Carrey vehicle, Liar Liar. Okay.
See you on our other channel.